Yeah, I agree with you.
Alright. Okay, so.
Let me just mute my game volume.
Oh, wait, I should probably do the same.
I just muted my TV to be honest, just so I can hear you.
Alright. Well, so. Should I have.
Well, we should start. We should hold on. Let's do this. Maybe I can get you a few more.
We got one.
There we go. There's one. See if I can get some more. Oh, you already posted. Oh, Zerk posted. How nice. How nice of Zerk. Let me join this SickX gaming community. What is wrong with these NSFW
Oh,
kids?
Jesus, circus. Oh.
Shit, alright, where do I go? Okay. Zerk, if you can hear me, just ask the Liberator guy I know, I know you can't really hear me now, or if you might not be able to hear me, but if you hear me, just ask the Liberator guy if he wants me to come as well.
I don't know if they're, Well, there's one question that might be, you might not want to answer it, and that's okay. But, the first question is going to be, what made you join the community, and what made you stay?
That's a really good question. What made me join the community? Well, I got into the community through roleplay. I remember back in 2013, when I was 13, I would join all these police roleplays, and I met this guy named Ali MB, and he got me into this PMC crew. From there, I joined Overload and was truly introduced to the main military community. And then I kind of took a break, went back to RP. I was kind of going back between RP, and then military slash RNG, because RNG was a big thing in the military community around 2013, 2014. What made me stay? Um, well, between 2016 and 2018, I had been in about 2 to 3 crews, but I was mainly focused on RNG. And what made me stay was honestly my first leadership role in a crew called Diamond Dogs Army. I realized that I could make an impact as a leader rather than just, an RNG player or someone who, played in CVCs. And when I saw something that was wrong in the community, like booting or doxing, and when I spoke on it, and when I found out that people actually, listened, and that kind of made me want to stay, realizing that I do have an influence in the community, and that, people do enjoy my content. So that kind of made me stay, and also having a lot of friends in this community, a lot of loyal friends that have stuck with me since day one. And being in the military community, it's kind of always a place where I'm known and where I'm familiar with people. So yeah, those are probably the main elements that have kept me in this community,
A
and that
lot of
have
those,
kind of attracted me to this community.
a lot of those line up with my reason for joining and staying. The second question was, oh, you already answered this, but what was your first crew?
My first crew code was called ODGC,
Mm-hmm.
ODGC PMC. It was kind of based around a friends group that was born out of like an RP crew.
Mm-hmm.
Good group of guys. I stuck with them for about a year, and then we all kind of moved to Overload since that was like the bigger crew. Everyone knew who Overload was, and I was kind of, just chilling in that crew until I realized that I didn't really like their leader. I didn't like how their leader ran things. I thought he was very impulsive and very imposing and was kind of more of like a dictator, so I kind of strayed away from him and kind of did my own thing. But yeah, those are the first two crews that really introduced me to the military community as a whole.
All right. Um, so I remember like around um when RAF1 was first up, and like you were with BRM1. I remember you trying to reshape the community, and I was wondering what made you try to do that, or attempt to do that, or maybe even do that.
Well, I really saw that, when I was in parties with people and we'd speak about booting, it was common knowledge that booting was looked down upon by a lot of people in the community, but a lot of people in the community didn't want to do anything about it. So I felt like I needed to do something about it. I wanted to speak out and I wanted to really stress what was wrong and, what was kind of bringing about all this toxicity and everything that people were complaining about, but yet they were doing nothing about it. So I felt like I wanted to be that voice to speak up for the people that really didn't have as much influence as I did, and I wanted people to kind of join my cause in a sense, rather than kind of accepting the community for the way it was, fighting for a better community. And I think that's what's going on now, which is, a good thing,
Yeah,
despite my opinions.
I definitely did not have any influence enough to do that. Well, third question is what is the reason? Well, at least this is what I know and what I've heard. Why do you enjoy RNG more than free mode, if that's true?
Well, it was just kind of what I was introduced to at first. When I joined ODGC, we played mainly RNG. When I joined Overload, the main determined, the way we did all these glitches and this try-hard game style. People were good players, but it was just a different way of playing. And I enjoyed free mode just as much as I enjoyed RNG. But being mainly into RNG, I got into the RNG community and kind of strayed away from free mode. And between 2016 and 2018, free mode had changed dramatically. I mean dramatically, a lot. And that's what kind of kept me into RNG, where I kind of saw free mode as more of like a ground for just players just getting cheap kills and stuff like that. I won't deny that there are skilled players in free mode, and I won't deny that people are capable of playing fairly and fairly in free mode and kind of while showcasing their try hard element in a sense. Because I have no problem with people who have a try hard element. I think a lot of people who have been in this community for a long time have a specific skill set. I'm good at RNG. Someone like Realm of Madness, he's basically good at everything. Realm of Madness he's been my friend for 4 years, and he's good at dogfighting, he's good at free mode, he's good at RNG, he's good at almost everything. We have people like Adrian who's good at free mode. We have people who specialize in different things and who excel in different things, and that's completely fine. People who come from try-hard backgrounds, RNG backgrounds, or dogfighting backgrounds, I find that to be, good. I find that to be, amusing.
Mm. Yeah, I personally not really good at anything. I'm trying to get better at RNG, but that's about it.
We all had to start somewhere. I mean, I wasn't the best when I joined Overload. We all started off getting our asses kicked by somebody. That's just kind of the way it works. Do you think I came into when I went to the RNG community at 15 years old? I did well. I didn't do well. It took time. It took years of practice and just training with people and playing with people and just learning play styles and kind of developing your own play style.
Yeah. Well, the second question, or not the second question, the fifth question is, at the time, how did you become friends with Sharky?
Sharky, well, I met Sharky, I was planning on, how do I kind of shape this? So Sharky had asked me to train him, and I was kind of a little suspicious of him because I do know that he was a booter and stuff like that. And he said he'd given up on all that, whatever, okay, I didn't really have much to lose at that time. Since we were both, intending to join UAN1, I wanted to make amends with Sedney because myself and Sedney, we had some beef, and I kind of wanted to squash that because my friendship with him meant more than some stupid beef. So me and Sharky were kind of in the same crew together and kind of built our relationship, built our friendship that way, by me training him. And in a way, we were kind of both on the outskirts because I wasn't trying to, just dive into UAN1 and act like I'm cool with everybody. I understood that some people in UAN1 didn't like me, so I kind of kept my distance, and Sharky kind of kept his distance. And, we both felt a little, unsatisfied with how people saw us in UIN1. So we're just like, listen, it's not going well here. So that's how when we moved over to BRM1, and he kind of reestablished BRM1, and we just became better friends over time.
Well, that seems pretty fair. So the sixth question, the reason I'm asking this is because, well, not only that, the video you made yesterday, I've been thinking a lot, and I've even been asking some of my friends this, and this is the question: what is your ideal military community for GTA 5, of course?
In my opinion, I don't think there is really an ideal military community. My idea of a military community, obviously one where there was no booting or doxing. There was one where people didn't get personal with each other. There's one where people didn't just spend all day on Discord and, just kind of talk shit to each other and just really never, I would, generally, the perfect military community is one where everybody's pushing to, to offer value to the community rather than, focusing on one-knowing people. And I'm guilty of this as well. I've gone into sessions and I've warred people and I've been part of that 1-0 culture. And that was, back then, I never saw that as skill, but I understood that was a minor issue, as opposed to booting and doxing. So people didn't really have a problem with that until now. But my ideal military community, we wouldn't have the orbital cannon. These set rules that that are being brought into place, I agree with most, if not all of them. I haven't really read over like the all of the rules, but the general rules like no orbitaling, no orbital cannons, these the CEO, the limits on CEOs, the limits on Ghost organization, the limits on BST, the fact that people were abusing that and just kind of using that to their advantage, people placing a limit on that. Maybe there could be a little bit more leniency, but at the same time, our community isn't to blame, isn't fully to blame for the way things are. Rockstar, the creators of GTA have provided this, these resources for us. They provided the orbital cannon, they provided facilities, they provided CEOs, they provided BS, they provided all these things for people to take advantage of. So it's not totally, our fault for, the way it is. But yeah, I'm kind of straying off topic. So perfect idea of a military community where no one boots doxes, gets personal with each other, and just plays for the purpose of playing and with the goals in mind to offer value in the community and to grow the community. I think that value has, escaped a lot of people.
Yeah, that was a really in-depth answer. Jesus. Thank you. So the seventh question, this is the one I was talking about. You don't have to answer. It was. The question is, when some of your
they come to my house, and if they did, I'm a man. If someone wants to come to my house and try to harm my family, then so be it. As a man, I'm expected to fight back for my family. So, did it affect me? No. It affected me when some, my family members' personal information was brought up because, that's my family. And here's the way I see it. People say, oh, don't get heated over a game. When someone brings up personal information with you, it has nothing to do with the game. So if someone gets personal with you, you have the right to take it personally. So yes, I took it personally when people were, passing around my information and just acting like it wasn't a big deal to have this information accessible. I just saw a big issue with that because all of these people, some of these same people that are on the council did those same things to other people and are trying to take the moral high ground over other people. So personally, when my, info was leaked by people, my personal information, me personally, like my name, my address, I wasn't really bothered by it. As a matter of fact, I kind of laughed at people who did it, like Ra's dad when he got fed up with me calling him a booter. He released my info. It just shows his desperation to try to get ahead, to try to, inflict pain on me when it just doesn't. I could just laugh at him for that. It just shows that he does not have any integrity. It kind of bothered me that the fact that not a lot of people were seeing, a problem with this. People are like, oh, your info's already out there. I'm like, yeah, but it's not really about the fact that my info's already out there. It's the morals behind it. Like, people are just seeing this as, like, not a big deal. So that's what, it was more of it bothered me more that people weren't seeing this as a big deal rather than my info being passed around.
Alright. Yeah, I can understand that. I wouldn't like my info being passed around, though I give it away for free. Not the smartest thing, but so I'm not sure. It probably isn't going on since Roz is disbanded. But what was your original beef with Roz?
What was my original beef with Roz?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of started. Where did it start? Wow. Well, when I was actually pretty friendly with UN1 at the time, and I knew that UN1 was the main adversary of White Rose Society or Roz. And when I heard that Roz was just kind of booting them based off of like social media, I saw videos where people were getting booted by these people. I instantaneously didn't like them. I had an experience with a booter where I don't know, I was like 14. I didn't really know what getting booted was like. So when I was going offline every night at like at like 9 p.m., I just thought like, okay, maybe my internet's just weak at this point. I didn't understand because I never got booted before. And when I found out that I was getting booted for weeks on end, I was like in the cycle of getting hit off constantly. I was pissed off because like, why would you do that for like no reason? It's like, oh, someone's paying me to do it for them. So like, people who boot indiscriminately, people who boot discriminately, I never really liked them. I'm more friendly with people who are booters now. Like Lars is a booter. My friend Scaff Shadow is a booter, but they boot for different reasons. They booted for different reasons, and their character kind of showed, afterwards. I guess it kind of has to do with bias too. How people kind of rub you the wrong way. Like Grom, for example, a lot like Lars told me that Grom was a good person, a good person at heart. But the way I saw it, I just thought he was a fucking asshole. He was a douchebag, to be honest. But it's kind of based off of how you show your character. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna hit all these people off, I'm not gonna like you. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna hit this person off because he's threatening my crew with booting and he's booting my members off, then I'm like, okay, maybe. There's a difference between going after a crew indiscriminately and booting them for no reason and defending your crew by booting. It's an unfortunate situation when people have to learn to boot, and then those people who are using that booting for offensive reasons, then seem to use it for more offensive reasons just to get rid of their problems. But that's the way the community was kind of brought up by Roz just kind of showing that booting was a norm. People accepted it as a norm eventually. In 2017, people were just like, fuck Roz. The community was split in half. One community was for Roz, the other community, the other side was against Roz. And then, as time shifted, people became more accepting and more lenient of it, like it was the norm.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it kind of carried on from there. Me and Walt, as I, rose to, as I gained more influence, and he started to, realize that my videos were making a difference in changing people's minds, and he started responding to me. And he started, I won't deny that Roz, they have a larger social media following than me, but it's really not that large considering that they have like 3,000 people, and out of those 3,000 people, maybe 30 people watch their stream. Most of their viewers just are just random people who aren't even in the military community. There isn't even 3,000 people in this community, so their social media numbers really mean nothing if they don't speak the truth, if they don't show integrity. That's the way I see it.
Okay. Yeah. That also makes sense. I'd never really liked
That was
Roz.
kind of long. My bad.
I never really liked Roz either for kind of the same reasons. They threatened to boot one of my friends off one time, and ever since then I didn't like them. Um. Oh, so next question is what previous? Oh, never mind. We can't answer. Jesus. We're gonna skip a question because we kind of already answered that. Why did you just
No worries.
decide to start the RNG tournament?
Well, it was just something. It was like an idea I had. The community was kind of boring at the time. There wasn't a lot going on. So it was just kind of, the RNG tournament's not like an original idea. It's not like I came up with the idea of an RNG tournament. I participated in a few RNG tournaments in the RNG community, and it really brought the community together. It really, it kind of gathered people to watch something, to support something, to get involved. So it was just kind of that simple idea. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way I expected, but there was really nothing I could do about it.
Mhm.
But I tried. It's all I can really say I did.
I personally enjoyed watching the live streams. Um, So next question is, how did you meet Zerk, and what are your thoughts on him? This is a personal question of his.
I met Zerk. I actually a lot of the friends that I have, I met through actually being enemies with them. I started off with being enemies with Zerk. I don't know why exactly. It could have been that I just wanted to 1v1 him and he just kind of tried to troll. Um, so after I 1v1'd him, he apologized to me for like saying some personal stuff. I won't get into it, but he said some personal shit that I'm not going to bring up. And then afterwards, when we were in BRM1 together, he joined BRM1. We kind of got along. I kind of clicked with him. He kind of had that attitude that I liked where, he really showed that he changed. And he's like, listen, my main objective in this community is to have fun. And that's probably the best outlook you can have. And what I think of him right now is I think that he's doing an excellent job. He's probably doing the most work out of all the council members. And I hope that he's able to be successful with this new meeting that's going on. I'm not going to be attending. Hopefully he can try to pick up where I left off and, really, carry this community to a better future. And, there was a time where, Zerk was friendly with Roz and we had arguments and parties, but the good thing about it, the good thing about a friendship with Zerk is he's never going to hold an argument against you. If you disagree with him, he's not going to just dislike you right away. In that sense, I think
Well, I'm not like that at all. Well, anyways, the next question.
Listen, when people disagree with me and rub me the wrong way, sometimes I end up disliking people. That's just me. Sometimes I take shit the wrong way, and that's something I try to work on. But that's something that Zerk definitely does better than most people.
Yeah, I try my best, but it's hard sometimes. So the next question is, I've thought about this a lot recently, just cause, but if you could bring back one crew that has shut down, what would it be?
It'd be Overload. Overload.
Alright.
Because despite me not liking them, they played fair. They raised the level of play. What I have to credit all my opponents with, despite me not liking some of my opponents, I have to thank them because they are responsible for me maintaining my high level of play. Without them, I would have no incentive to maintain my high level of play. Overload really raised the level of play and caused a lot of players to get better just by them being present in the community. Their level of play had a really positive effect on a lot of people. Despite me not liking them, they were a very impactful crew. And yes, I would bring them back. They were a very fun crew to fight against, and they played the villain, but they played it in the right way. They didn't boot anybody, they didn't dox anybody. As far as I know, I'm not really sure, because I only fought them, they probably made their exit around 2018. I didn't fight them around that period, but when I fought them, they were a fair fighting crew, and simple as that. The most they ever did was talk shit, and that people consider them toxic for that, but nowadays everybody talks shit. It's just the way it is.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Well, we're almost at the end. But we have 3 more questions. Number 13 is going to be, I've seen this a lot recently. A lot of people that I see that you used to fight or argue with are now like your friends. Like, how did this happen?
Such as who? Can you? Because has to be specific
like a lot of
people.
the council members in this new military community. Like, I'm not sure if you're friends with them, but you're definitely not fighting them anymore. Like,
I'm friends with most of them.
Yeah.
As for Lars, alright, I'll start off with Lars. I always saw it like when me and Lars were kind of beefing, I always saw him as kind of a troll or someone who was cowering away from a fight. But he was he said he apologized for whatever toxic behavior he did, and I apologized too, because I kind of tried to push him to fight, calling him like a wuss or whatever. This is the way it is. And we finally fought, and I found out pretty quickly that he is genuinely a good person, and he fights fair, and he has a good outlook on the community, despite his past. As for Adrian, me and Adrian have always, had some sort of odds with each other, but we've always kind of seen the community in the same way where, booting and doxing is wrong. Despite both of us being part of that 1-0 culture, back in UN1, I can say that, he's always fought fairly. No, he's never booted or doxed anybody. He's never gotten personal with anybody. I can't always say he's fought fairly. I'm not really sure. He could have done unfair things. I don't really know. But as far as I know, he fights fairly. And for that, I respect him. I don't think we'll ever see eye to eye personally, but I think he, out of all the council members, I think he deserves to actually have his spot. I think he's earned his spot.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Rock. Rock, I'm okay with him. I wouldn't say I'm friends with him. I would say I'm friendly. I think he's matured over the past year. Me and him had a really bad beef back in 2019, where he was getting personal with me and there was a lot of bad blood. But he's shown that he's matured and he's kind of taken that role of trying to better the community, and I do support him in that. I hope he does well in that. As for the rest, Gore has recently gotten personal with one of my friends, and I think he doesn't deserve to be on the council. In my personal opinion, I think he is too biased, and I think he talks down to too many people. As for Glenwood or Derek, I don't like him either. I think he only changed because it was convenient for him. He used to be one of the, same with Gore. Both Gore and Derek used to be booters who booted for whatever reason they saw fit, even if there's simply no reason. So, I think I already answered how me and Zerk became friends. So I think that's everyone.
All right. So 2 more questions left. And this next question is: when you leave the community, do you ever plan to come back, even for a little bit, even for a few days?
One thing that I've learned is no matter how smart you are, no matter how much of a fortune teller you think you may be, no matter how much of a psychic you think you may be, you can never predict the future. I may come back, I may not. As of right now, my priorities are focused on different things rather than the military community. I think I've done my fair share. I think I've done more than enough. And now I pass the torch on to whoever wants to better the community. I pass the torch on.
Okay. Well, this is going to be the final question. It's not super in depth or anything. Pretty simple question, but who would you say is the best crew right now, or best crews, plural even?
Best crews, the strongest crews. If I had to rank them from, top 5 or top 3?
Top 5 is good.
Top 5. At number 5, I would go. Man, you know what? I'd have to kind of look. Let me look actually. I'd have to look. Because there isn't a lot of crews in the community. I have to admit there isn't a lot of crews. At number 5, I'd go CTMY. Number 4, VFR1. At number 3, ASNA. At number 2, I'd probably say UN1. And at number 1, I have the Expendables, TXP. Although it's debatable that some of these crews are or are not in the community, that's just my personal list. I haven't really had a lot of time to thought about it. But TXP is kind of a mixture of all the different kinds of players. I think they probably have the strongest lineup. And plus, a lot of members of VFR1 and ASNA and UN1 are kind of mixed into TXP. So it's kind of
yeah,
best of both worlds in TXP.
All right. Well, that pretty much sums up all my questions. Yeah, I mean, that's it.
All right, yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, thank you for coming.
All right.